So, have you ever really thought about how your personal inner faith connects to what you actually do out in the world? We're going to dig into this really cool metaphor. It's from a theologian named Tyra, and she calls it the circuit of spiritual formation. And honestly, it might just flip the switch on how you see that whole connection. Okay, so it really kicks off with this big question. One I think a lot of us get stuck on, right? Is spirituality supposed to be this super private internal journey, or is it a public mission, something that's meant to get out there and make a difference? It often feels like you have to pick one or the other, doesn't it? But what if that's the wrong question? What if it's a total false choice? Let's dive into this tension, between the private side and the public side of faith. And right away, Tyra hits us with this key idea. The answer isn't either or, it's both and. See, real spiritual growth isn't about choosing one lane and sticking to it. It's about getting how our inner life, our devotion, and our outer life, our actions, are completely fundamentally linked. They're supposed to feed each other. So that sounds good, but how does it actually work? Well, this is where Tyra brings in that awesome metaphor I mentioned, the spiritual circuit. Yeah, the circuit of spiritual formation. And it's exactly what it sounds like. Just think about a basic electrical circuit, right? For a light bulb to actually turn on, the electricity needs a path. It needs a complete, unbroken loop to flow through. And the big idea here is that our spiritual life, well, it works pretty much the same way. And this breaks it down so perfectly. You can see it right there. Step one, that's the inward movement. Think of this as the power source. It's your prayer, your worship, all those personal spiritual disciplines. But, and this is key, it can't just stop there. The power has to go somewhere. So that leads to step two, the outward movement. This is where that power gets channeled out into the world through things like service, mission, and fighting for justice. And then you bring it all together in step three, you get a complete circuit. And that's when the magic happens. The power can finally flow, and that's what leads to real, genuine, Christ-like formation. Okay, but what happens if that loop is broken? What if there's a disconnect between that inward power source and the outward action? Well, that's the big problem we're talking about here. It's what Tyra calls an open circuit. So let's just ask it straight up. What happens when all that spiritual energy, all that power you're building up through prayer and reflection, what if it just stays there? What if it never flows outward and just stays locked up in your private world? Well, the answer is pretty straightforward. The circuit is left open. The power is there, it's been generated, but it has absolutely nowhere to go. It can't fulfill its purpose. And what you get is stagnation. Spiritual growth just stops. It stalls out because that energy isn't being put to use out in the real world. And man, this slide just puts it side by side so clearly. Look at the open circuit. It's private, it's stagnant, it's basically ineffective. It's like someone who reads and prays for hours but then walks right past a neighbor who's struggling. All power, no action. But then you look at the closed circuit. It's public, it's dynamic, it's effective. This is the person whose private reflection moves them to, organize a food drive or volunteer. You see the difference? It's night and day. All right, so if an open circuit is the problem, then the solution is pretty obvious, right? We've got to complete the circuit. It's all about making that connection between our inner life and our outer actions. And here's the absolute heart of it. We have to stop thinking of our private devotion and our public mission as these two separate things that are competing for our time. They're not. The whole point is that they are totally inseparable. They're two parts of the same thing. One literally fuels the other. And this means we might need a huge shift in how we see things. The world, with all its problems, all its messiness, it isn't some distraction from our spiritual growth. Not at all. It's the arena. It's the proving ground. It's the very place where our faith gets tested and forged into something real, something that actually holds up. Okay, so let's zoom out. What's the bigger picture here? When we actually complete our own circuits, what does that look like for everyone else? This is all about the public impact of our faith. And Tyra makes a really bold claim about this. She says that when spirituality is kept private, it doesn't just hurt your own growth, it actually undermines the church's influence in the world. I mean, think about it. A faith that nobody ever sees can't possibly inspire anyone or challenge anything, can it? Really, the whole point of this circuit metaphor is to show that spiritual power is meant to be channeled into real, tangible action. The argument is that this is how it was designed to work. Faith is supposed to be visible. It's supposed to be engaged and actively responding to the very real needs of the world around us. So let's wrap this up. What are the big takeaways here? Well, first, real spiritual formation needs both that inward devotion and the outward action. You can't have one without the other. Second, a faith that just stays private, it's an open circuit. It's incomplete and frankly ineffective. Third, it's getting involved in the world through service, through mission, that actually completes the circuit. And finally, when that circuit is complete, that's when the spiritual power can actually flow and create real, lasting change. And that leaves us with a final question, a pretty personal one to think about. When you look at your own life, at the connection between what you believe privately and what you do publicly, is your spiritual circuit complete?